for those who are living here in America and are thinking to themselves, it's all very sad, cycle of violence in the Middle East, but frankly, it's on the other side of the planet. You're an American now. You're still stepping into the arena. You feel like you have to speak about it. Why? You're here in America. Why should us Americans, care so much about this issue on the other side of the planet?
Well, first of all, we are a superpower, and America as a superpower has a responsibility towards global security. We cannot just abandon the rest of the world. We depend on the rest of the world. We depend on the Middle East, not only for energy, but we depend on the security and the stability of the region. Because if that goes out of control, our commerce, our way of life, everything that we do will be jeopardized. So this is number one. Number two, we don't want Hamas ideology and the Muslim Brotherhood ideology to spread. We have to counter it. That's part of our moral responsibility towards the world, especially when we have a generation that is swayed by foreign entities taking advantage of the situation. So then we have obligation towards our allies. Israel is a great ally, and Israel contributes to the American security more than any other country on planet Earth. And not only that, there is a huge Jewish community who contribute to the American treasury. So the volume of their contribution in taxpayer money and in literature, in innovation, in every field of life is magnificent. And how can any American government abandon more than 6 million Jews who are a fundamental part of this structure? The Jewish people in the United States have roots to this land. They have family there. Their children are there. Their relatives are there. Their history is there. 4,000-year plus history connect the Jewish community of the United States to Israel. It's a bond that is stronger than a political ally.
Well, I want to untangle this because I would imagine that some people listening would say, okay, this is true that there are a lot of Jews that live in America. I'm assuming you're talking about the anti-Semitism that we're seeing in the U.S. right now when you're talking about how are we ignoring this, the Jewish plight right now. But people would say, well, Israel and anti-Semitism is not the same thing. Sending money to Israel and fighting the war in Israel is not the same thing as condemning anti-Semitism in America. And then when you're saying, well, yeah, that is true that there are a lot of Jews that are part of the American economy or the economy in the West, sure, but there are also a lot of Muslims that live in the United States, possibly some of them even Palestinians, backgrounds like yours, who have moved here. And so what about their voice, right? And so like America is e pluribus unum, from many one. We come from all these different places. And so, when you're saying, well, America should stand up for the Jewish cause. Well, what about the Muslims that live in America? Shouldn't Americans stand for the Muslim cause?
Well, first of all, the United States stands for its own constitution, and there are no contradictions when it comes to the Israeli democracy. There are lots of things in common, unlike the rest of the Arab world, that they're not reliable. Some of them are allies, but they're not as reliable as Israel. When 9/11 happened, Israel was there training the American troops, the American intelligence, including the FBI, including the Homeland Security. It was a pilgrimage to Tel Aviv and to Jerusalem to study of how to counter terrorism and how to win the war, global war against terrorism. They didn't go to Saudi Arabia or to any other country. And what is the Muslim contribution to the American economy and to the American treasury in comparison to actually the Jewish contribution? Then when we say aid to Israel, what is it? A few $1 billion given in military aid? So if the United States give Egypt, which is an ally, $1.5 billion annually in military aid, and give, let's say, the state of Israel double that, because they are more reliable ally, they do the same, a lot more towards NATO. They're not giving Israel charity, to just prosper. Israel is not dependent on the United States and its economy. Israel is totally developed country, advanced, and contributes to the American defense system, to the American technology in the high tech in every field. So why the United States of America would abandon their best ally, strongest country, in the midst of a genocide where they're facing a modern day Holocaust? Is this the time when the allies abandon their friends? Just because we have some angry pro-Palestine or from Palestinian background who are exploiting the American freedoms to advance savage agendas? This is not acceptable. We support Israel. We stand with Israel. This is the correct thing to do.
When you were under all the media pressure that you were describing to me, past the release of your book, plus the threats, you took steps out of the light. You stopped doing media, and you kind of disappeared for a little bit. You did your own thing and lived, I guess, a simple, quiet life, but you decided to come back into the arena after October 7th. What happened on October 7th that made you want to come back to the arena, come back to the United States and speak out?
The protests and the anti-Semitism on American campuses, European capitals, and generally in the West shook me to the core, because Israel was still mourning ethnic cleansing committed by Hamas. And it was literally a modern-day Holocaust. And my friendship with Israel is a lot longer and deeper than my friendship with actually the society where I was brought up. My relationship with Israel is 27 years old, and that's like most of my life. And I developed so many friendships throughout the Jewish communities worldwide. Then the United States of America is my country now. It's my responsibility towards my people. The United States of America took me in when my father disowned me, when my own family rejected me, when my people said, kill him. This is when the United States gave me a second chance and took me in. So in a moment of despair, in a moment of chaos, it was not the right thing to stay in silence and disappear. This is why I speak as loud as I can.
It's 2025. America's debt is over $37 trillion, and the dollar just had its worst crash since 1973. That puts your savings and your family's future at risk. That's why we trust Alpha Omega Gold, a company that stands unapologetically with Israel and supports Stand Tall Israel. Visit ao.gold/stand to claim your free precious metals wayfinder guide, or call 1-855-426-4653 today. Protect your future before it's too late.